What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over in order, and again, this video, I say again, I haven't said it, this video is 100% my opinion, but I'm going to be going over the most important muscles to have in bodybuilding. Obviously, you know, we like to train our chest, back, biceps, triceps, quads, hamstrings, calves, all this stuff, but what muscles are actually the most important on stage? I'm going to be going over my opinion today, and this is going to be for bodybuilding and classic physique, as I think this list should be fairly similar for the two. The most important muscle in bodybuilding, in my opinion, is lats. And that is because having that taper and those wide lats from the front and from the rear is so prioritized that if you don't have this, you're not really going to do very well. You need that. We want that X frame, and I know this is prioritized more in classic physique, but we still want that X frame in bodybuilding, and those lats are what's going to give you that start to that V shape from the rear and from the front. So I think lats, in my opinion, are the most important muscle for bodybuilding. Next up, I'm going to go with the shoulders, and I'm talking front, side, and rear delt again. And why? Because we're, again, building that V-taper. Wide shoulders are going to give you a more command. I do think there is a good argument that shoulders could just be the most important muscle over lats, because having big shoulders is going to give you more width on stage. You're going to have a more commanding presence. But I also think lats do that, and shoulders don't really give you as much of a tapered look anyway in like a front double bicep. I think that it will give you that width up top, but the lats are really responsible for the start to that taper. So while shoulders are still so important, I'm ranking them number 2. Next up, you heard me talk about taper a lot, but how about the taper downstairs? Because we don't just want a V taper, we want an X frame. So I'm going to go with quads, because that is what's going to give us that X shape. We got the taper in the lats coming out to wide shoulders, making us wide up top, to flaring quads, finishing off that X frame. I think this is so crucial for bodybuilding. And you see some guys like Brandon Curry anyway, who they have that amazing upper body, but they're just not as developed in the quad specifically, and their placings just go really downhill from there. Or from a previous point, lats. We have, I believe it's Akeem Williams. He doesn't really have great lat insertions, and he didn't really place that well at the Olympia. That's his only real weakness, and he really didn't place that well because he didn't have those great insertions. So I think these three, for getting that X frame, that tapered look, are very important. Okay, I'm just editing this video here now, and I originally had hamstrings as number 4 and chest as number 6. But I talked with my dad, and come to think about it, I am switching these two around. We were talking about it, and I just think now you can kind of get away with having not as great developed hamstrings. But if you don't have a thickly developed chest, everyone's going to notice it. Everyone's going to see that. Everyone's going to call it out. So I just think he's probably right on that one, and I think the chest is really important. So I would actually go number 4 for chest, switching these two around just for context on what I'm about to say about them. Now we're going to everybody's favorite muscle to train. It's going to be the chest, because the chest, it's going to give you that armored look from the front, and it looks freaking sick. I know a lot of people are probably going to have chest a lot higher on this list, and I can totally see an argument for that, guys. Again, this is just my opinion, but chest, it's not really gonna give you that X-frame look. It's definitely gonna make you look thicker from the top. You obviously want to have a great and thick chest, but I think overall, if you didn't have an amazing chest, I don't think it would hinder you as much as some of the other muscles on above on this list. So I'm going to go with obliques and abs. And I'm not saying you need to have big, really big, thick obliques and abs, because if anything, that's going to detract from the physique, but a nice set of abs. So nice symmetry. You want the shape of the muscle to be good. You want guitar obliques. I think a great example of this is Hadi Chupin. He's got amazing abdominals and it looks freaking sick. It really is just a centerpiece to the physique, and if you don't have really good abs, I think that is quite a hindrance, because it just makes the physique look a lot more pretty to have that great set of abs and obliques. So I think abs and obliques are very, very important. I think this may be the one thing where I would possibly move it up or down from classic to open. I think in classic it's probably more important to have those abs. So if you were to move abs and obliques down for the open category, I could see that a little bit more. We see guys like Ronnie Coleman, obviously he doesn't have a great set of abs, but he was still a dominant Mr. Olympia champion. But for me anyway, I feel like abs are super important, so I'm placing it number 5. Number 4, I'm going with hamstrings, and similar to that taper, it's gonna give you more of that X frame from the rear. Now, I don't think it's as important as the quads. I think the quads, if from the rear, let's say your hamstrings are underdeveloped, the quad sweeps from the rear should still give you that taper. The hamstrings are just going to add a little bit more to the thickness. But from the front, when you normally, when you pose, you turn your legs slightly out to the side, you're going to see that hamstring, and you don't really want to have a thigh gap, and getting those hamstrings in are going to help with that. So I think hamstrings, quads, definitely essential for getting that X frame down below. Now we are going to move on to the other part of the back. Lats were number 1, but traps are going to come in number 7. I think traps are very important, and most people, when they hear traps, they just think of the upper traps right here, and while those are definitely important to the physique, I think the mid and lower traps are even more important, because that's going to give your back that 3D thick look from the rear. So definitely very important to have traps. I just think, again, it's not really contributing to that X frame, but more that thickness look, which is still very important, but really in bodybuilding, we want to get that X frame. So I would have traps in number 7, and also traps other than the upper traps, the mid and lower traps on your back are only really affected from the 2 back poses, whereas lats, you really see them in the front and the back poses. The only pose where lats are not in there is the 2 side poses, really. So I think traps are definitely not as important as having those lats. Now we're going to move on to the arms, and I am going for triceps. Triceps, I'm ranking over biceps. Some people might disagree with that, but if you have bigger triceps, it's going to make your arm look bigger. Triceps, I know people have been saying this for a long time, make up 2/3 of the arm. Unfortunately, triceps, one of my weakest body parts, so my arms don't look super massive. It's really, you really want, especially in that front double bicep, we're not just looking at the bicep, but also the tricep hanging down from the bottom. It's going to give you that thickness. So I think triceps are very important, just not as important as other muscles on this list. And then we're going to go for biceps. We got to complete the arm. So we need that amazing bicep peak. We want to raise the arm when we're posing. Bicep a little bit higher than the deltoid. That's going to give you more taper, and we're going to see that amazing bicep peak. Now, some guys who don't really have great biceps, Derek Lunsford and Cbum, were still able to win the Olympia and the classic Mr. Olympia despite having probably some of the worst biceps in the lineup. So I know a lot of people thinking golden era, yeah, big biceps, but on stage, I don't think they're as important as some other muscles. And we're down to the last three, and now I'm going glutes. Gotta be honest, when you're a guy training legs anyway, now if this is for the women's categories, completely different story, but you're a guy training legs, you're like, you know what, it's leg day. Are we thinking I'm training my glutes a lot, or are we thinking quads and hamstrings? I think for the most part we're thinking that. Not saying you shouldn't train your glutes. I even train the glute medius and minimus through this exercise, the one where I don't freaking know what it's called, but or glute hip abductions or something like that. So it is important to, especially from the side, it's to come out and in. It is important. I just don't think it's that important for a guy as much. Now, if you're Chris Bumstead and you're doing that twisting back double bicep and you see the lines going through the glutes, that's freaking sick. But overall, I just don't think it's really as important as other muscles. And second last, can you guess it? It's going to be the calves. This is probably what you guys were thinking would be the last, but I think, let's be honest, guys, we're not really training our calves. We don't really look at the calves that much in bodybuilding. If you have them, it's like sick. That's amazing. But no one's losing a bodybuilding show just because their calves are not as big as somebody else's. If everything else is equal and one guy's got better calves, sure. But overall, they don't have as much of a role as other body parts. So then you're probably thinking, what could be the least important muscle? I'm going to go forearms. And similar to calves, you don't really care. No one does dedicated forearm exercises really. Now, I do them because I kind of want to maximize everything. I want to get the most optimal training, grow every single muscle. So I do that. But let's be honest. I mean, if you're doing any basic pull down or bicep curl, you're going to train your forearms anyway. And I've never really seen someone not have underdeveloped forearms where it looks bad. No one really brings up the forearms unless it's Ramon Dino's, because like calves, it's great if you got them, but if you don't got them, it's not a huge deal. So I think forearms are last on the list, but that is my list. Oh wait, and there's kind of one more, I guess, training your neck. I know some people do that, but I guess that would be the last. I mean, I never do that. I really don't think that's necessary at all. No one's looking at the neck, how big your neck muscles are. So that's my opinion, guys. That's my list. Let me know if you agree. I know a lot of you are definitely going to put chest higher on the list, and maybe you guys would probably swap chest and hamstrings around. If we're just talking about beach body physiques, that's a different story. But on the bodybuilding stage, this is my list, and this goes for classic and bodybuilding. The only thing I think you would change from classic to bodybuilding on this list would be maybe abs and obliques not being as important in open bodybuilding. But other than that, I think this is a pretty good list for both categories. So yeah, let me know if you guys agree with me in the comments. Again, this is completely 100% my opinion. I can totally see an argument for other muscles being up there as well. I just think in bodybuilding, we want to prioritize that X frame. That's going to get the most judges looking at you, placing you the highest. So that's my opinion, guys, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.